Hello everybody, my name is Brianna Bilo and I'm a meteorologist here with the National Weather Service office in Grand Junction, Colorado. And this is your July 2024 monthly climate summary. So jumping right in, our story of the month was July heat. It's a little weird to talk about this one because we didn't actually set any records. We came very close, almost daily, like within a degree of the record, but we never actually managed to touch or go over those records during July. But even still, we had a prolonged period of much above normal heat during the month of July, particularly in the middle. We had a week straight between the 12th and the 16th, I believe, 12th and 16th, in and around that area, where we had 100 plus heat here in Grand Junction and in other lower Desert Valley locations. Temperatures during this period ranged from about 10 to 15 degrees above normal across the board. But as I said, we didn't set any records despite all of this, but even still, it was plenty unusual as far as the heat was concerned. And so one of our graphics that we issued as our weather story was how to stay safe in the heat and different activities that you can do and different protective measures you can take if you have to be outside. But eventually, towards the end of the month, we began to see more pushes of monsoonal moisture coming up into the area that started to take the edge off of this heat, drop temperatures below that 100-degree mark and into the 90s, bringing more cloud cover, more rain, just overall a little bit more pleasant than that really unusual heat we saw. So moving in, our high temperatures, this is pretty reflective of that period at the beginning of the month, or well, in the middle of the month rather, where we saw our peak heat. So our highest high for the month was 106 degrees in Canyonlands on the 12th. Our lowest high was 88 degrees in Aspen on the 12th and the 13th. And pretty much with no exception here, these highest high temperatures occurred between the 12th and the 16th, mostly clustered between the 12th and the 14th. Our coolest temperatures, unsurprisingly, occurred towards the beginning of the month before we really started getting into that very unusual heat. And so our warmest low rather was 60 degrees in Grand Junction on the 3rd and the 6th. That should tell you how uncomfortable some of the nights were in July here in the Grand Valley if our lowest temperature for the entire month was only 60 degrees. And then our coldest high was 38 degrees in Craig on the 4th of July, with a handful of other sites coming into those low 40s, upper 30s early in the month. And again, you can kind of tell that we had a relative bit of a cold snap at the beginning of the month of July before that heat all moved in. Moving on to precipitation, July was not the best month. The most precipitation that fell was in Aspen with just over 1.2 inches. The least amount of precipitation was unfortunately Vernal, again, with just 1/100th of an inch. Vernal was about 1/2 inch below normal, Aspen about 4/10 below normal. All of our sites came in below normal, with the exception maybe of Craig, which was just 100th below normal. And if you ask me, 100th on either side of normal is pretty much normal. But for the rest of these areas, we saw around about 1/2 inch, give or take, below normal for the month of July. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that we didn't get that monsoonal moisture that we typically get in July. So if these numbers had occurred last month, perhaps in June, we might have had some different departures here. It might have been a little bit closer to normal, but because we typically see those monsoonal surges in July, that's typically the peak of our moisture. With the dry month that we had without the monsoonal pushes, this is not really unexpected, but it is a little disappointing. We had a June soon, and now we're having something of an August soon, and unfortunately July just didn't happen. It is fickle, that monsoon. Looking at our drought update, as per the drought monitor, we're looking at predominantly areas of abnormally dry conditions. This was as of July 27th, I think. So we saw the most precipitation that kind of fell during the month of July really favored the higher terrain. So you can see the San Juans, the Central Mountains, the Northern Mountains, to an extent the Eastern Uintas, to an extent the La Salles and the Bajos, all with the no drought category, while the lower elevations, so the Gunnison Valley and much of the lower elevations of eastern Utah and into western Colorado, really it didn't see that precipitation on the same level, but they remain abnormally dry rather than descending into an actual drought category, such as moderate drought. Although I can say with the early August update, we did in fact have a pocket of moderate drought show up somewhere over here. That has again been relieved as of the most recent update today. So August has been trending more wet than we saw in July, but the holdover from July's dryness did kind of wreak a little bit of havoc with the drought monitor for that early August update. But looking at the drought tendency, because there is technically no drought in western Colorado at the moment, there is no signal as far as drought tendency because there was no expectation that any of this would worsen. And I mean, to an extent, they were correct. We did have one pocket of moderate drought develop, but it was gone within 2 weeks. So overall, pretty much status quo as far as the drought tendency for the month of August. And then looking at the August 2024 outlook per the Climate Prediction Center. As far as precipitation is concerned, favoring equal chances of above or below normal precipitation for all but the very, very furthest north portions of the CWA. Where there is a very slight tendency, so 33 to 40% tendency towards below normal precipitation. And you can see something of the monsoonal signature down here in Arizona and New Mexico, where there is a slight tendency, so 33 to 40% tendency towards above normal precipitation. We do seem to be leaning more towards this above normal side as far as what's going on thus far this month, but there's still about 2 weeks of August left, so we will have to see. And then as far as temperature is concerned, per the Climate Prediction Center, very strong signal for above normal temperatures. I don't have the scale on this image, but I believe this was a 60 to 70% tendency towards above normal temperatures, so pretty strong signal for the entire CWA above normal temperatures for the month of August. And I mean, we'll have to wait and see, because we did have, at least thus far this month, several periods of widespread precipitation and significantly cooler temperatures, normal or even quite a bit below normal. We had at least one day where our high was only in the 70s here in the Grand Valley. Our normal high is like 92. So that's a good 10-15 degrees below normal. So we'll just have to wait and see how the numbers all turn out for the end of the month. And that's that for the month of July, not August. I will endeavor to get the August summary out much sooner. This month, just kind of with scheduling and staffing changes and everything. And with the monsoon, we've been pretty busy, and this is the first time I've been able to pull myself away to have time to do this. So I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you again pretty soon. And don't forget that in September, we will not only be doing a monthly climate summary for August, but we will be doing a seasonal climate summary for the summer season, so June, July, and August. Stay tuned for that. Have a good one.